Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 264 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today we had a part 2 episode with guest Lillian Grace. Lillian is a artist, producer, visual artist, does a ton of different things, wears a ton of different hats. We originally talked to Lillian back in 2022. At the time she was still living in her hometown in Houston, Texas, talking about moving to Nashville. And on this catch-up episode, we recap the last 3 years, everything she's gone through. She lives in Nashville now, has started her own creative agency, working with other different artists, helping them with social media content. She talked about the importance of that, but she also talked about the importance of what she's gone through the last 3 years, a lot of different traumatic experiences, and how that energy was channeled into the recent releases she's come out with here in 2025. In total, it's going to be a 24-song run. She's about halfway through that at the time of this recording. We talked about the different characters she plays in the visualizers and what that's meant to her to be able to play out this type of storytelling within her music. And I think it's all very meaningful. Each song tells a very unique and descriptive story about her own life experience. And I feel like Lillian's music can relate to a lot of people in a lot of different ways, especially if you're going through some dark times. Just finding ways to deal with that in a creative and positive way is a big important step. And I feel like Lillian's doing that in real time. And as always, I'm just glad to be able to reconnect with her. I see her working hard all over social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, doing all kinds of really cool things. So I'm always down to have Lillian back on the show anytime. And as always, I appreciate her for joining me this week. So without further ado, let's get into this one. Yeah, absolutely, no problem. I'm always down to keep in touch with, people I've connected with in the past as well. And I see you've been doing a lot of stuff this year. I feel like you're more active this year than I've seen you in a long time. So it's it's like visuals on my timeline all the time about new releases and stuff. So I'm excited to talk about it today. And like I said, I won't keep you too long. But usually we'll just have you kind of reintroduce yourself, because there's obviously people that probably didn't hear the first time we talked a few years ago. So if they didn't check out the first episode, just kind of reintroduce yourself for those that might not know.
Okay, cool. Are we just start out?
Yeah, we can just roll right in. Yep.
So hi, my name is Lillian Grace. I'm an alt-pop singer-songwriter based in Nashville, Tennessee. And I am also the CEO and founder of Women Who Create Media, a female-driven media company also based here in Nashville.
Awesome. And I feel like the last time we talked, you were getting ready to move to Nashville. Like, you were still in Houston, I believe, at the time. Yeah. And I feel like the whole episode we kind of talked about you kind of making that transition to moving to Nashville, which is obviously a big music city with a lot of things going on. So I guess my first question would be, what have you learned the last 3 years being over there? Or being up there, I guess I should say. And what do you think is the biggest lessons that you've taken from the experience so far?
Imposter syndrome is a huge thing here. And that was something that I had to overcome when I first moved here, because there's so many talented musicians in the city. And so if somebody was trying to move to a big music city like Nashville or LA, New York, just try to subside those feelings, because there's so many opportunities that you might block yourself from just because you're scared, Yeah. And so that was something I really had to learn. And of course, you might have seen my new brand is the Trauma Queen. So as the Trauma Queen, horrible things happened to me when I first moved here within my first 6 months. And so having to grieve, 2 different losses at the same time in a new city and make new friends, it was a lot. Yeah. So just give yourself patience, I think that's like the biggest lesson I've learned. But on a smaller scale, I've learned how to book my own shows. I have played with a full band for the first time when back in Houston, I was performing with tracks. I didn't have a band. So that's a huge improvement. I've learned how to have a show, not just a performance where you come and you see someone sing, but a show where someone leaves that and goes, wow, that was a performance. Yeah. I'm going to remember that. Like, there's a difference between those things. And yeah, also just on the other side, like with the content creation and owning a media company, like learning how to be a CEO, learning how to do my taxes, learning how to get an LLC. And a lot of my music stuff is connected to my media company. So, any of the outfits that I use for content creation is a tax write-off. Yeah. And there's just things like that you got to learn, that I learned just from being around other musicians who are more advanced than me here.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a whole nother life just in the last couple of years for you that you've gone through, which is it's quite incredible. And it's quite incredible to see the journey kind of play out in real time. The way me being able to follow your journey, which has been super cool. But congrats on all that, because it's a big step. It's a big transition as well. And I just remember that was really your big goal at the time 3 years ago, and it's great to see you in this space now, being able to create more and put your own stuff out there, and like you said, do new things like performing live with a band and all that stuff. So congrats on that, first of all, because I think that's awesome.
And I've been in Nashville 2 years now, and I've performed at 3 or 4 venue shows and headlined a couple, and these are like paid things, where I booked it with the venue and then I got ticket sales. It was really awesome to like make a profit off of my music for the first time.
Absolutely. And it's great to see as well. And you mentioned, being the owner of a content creation agency, which I definitely wanted to touch on with you. And what have you really learned from being able to do that on top of doing music? And is there ever a clash in trying to balance the two? Because I know both of them require a lot of work on your end. So how has it been trying to balance, doing both and then working with other artists within the agency to create their content, kind of push things for social media? How's that been going?
So there's a couple different avenues, which is great. When it comes to the videography and the photography stuff, I meet artists all the time. Here, that's a great thing about being in Nashville. Everybody needs content. So at least with working with other artists, what I've done is I've basically gone to my friends here in Nashville and said, hey, you're a musician, I'm a musician, give me 3 hours of your time. I will teach you how to use my camera. I will, and then after I get the content I need, I will come to one of your shows. I will shoot your cover art. Whatever amount of time you gave me, I will give back to you. So it's mutually beneficial to both artists involved. And so that's a good way that I get to teach mainly female creatives how to do photography for the first time, which is really fulfilling to me. It is a struggle to manage both. When I came into this 24-song project, I was like, I'm a machine. I can do it. And I'm about halfway through, and I'm pretty burnt out. I'm really tired. So my media company has had to take a little bit of a step back. I'm still getting clients. I'm still working with people. I mainly am trying to gear towards small businesses and helping them grow their social media platforms. So I'm getting clients that way. But at the end of the year, when my project is over, I'm going to start doing more showcases highlighting independent artists here in Nashville and giving them discounts for content services, as well as anybody who comes to the show will get discount on content services. I have a bunch of different ideas for women who create media and how we can highlight independent artists and female creatives here in Nashville.
Yeah, so that's very awesome for sure. And again, I know that's a lot of work, so hats off to you for even being able to do that. And like you said, put out all these songs, because you have so many songs you're putting out. We'll get to the songs in a second. I think I want to touch as far as running the agency and doing all that. Obviously, I feel like the more that you work with other people and the more success you have working with them, word of mouth kind of spreads. I assume you get other people that want to work with you as well in some form of capacity. So what has been your way of kind of filtering out certain clientele? And are you accepting everybody that comes your way and wants to work? Or are you only working with certain individuals that you feel like it'll not only be mutually beneficial, but you feel like it's going to be a good working relationship as well? Like, how has that been for you so far?
I think it's different for every client, really. And a majority of the clients that I've worked with, whether it's the content trades or they've paid me for my services, we've had great relationships. And it's crazy sometimes how you'll find a big client. So I did some photos for free at a songwriter night, and I met this guy, and he was like, "Oh, you're from Texas? I have a friend in Texas who's a real estate agent. Let me hook you up with her, and maybe you can work with her, and you have great clients that way." And then you have other clients who are like, I had an experience with somebody who I was in the very, very beginning of my business. I hadn't even had my LLC, no contracts, nothing. And they had hired me like right on the spot when I saw them at a gig. And then the next day was the show, and I show up and it's a lot more work than what I had intended. And it was kind of a headache of having to figure out who to talk to, who is paying me, stuff like that. So through experiences with clients, you'll be able to know. So at first, I accept everybody. But if it's a bad experience, then I can say, hey, I'm probably not going to work with this person again. But for the most part, that's only happened to me once. So everybody is really, really kind.
Yeah. Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. Yeah, it's great too because I feel like it almost follows the same path of being an artist too, where you kind of have to go through some learning experiences too. And if you don't have necessarily like the infrastructure in place and like you said, the contracts and things of that nature, you might kind of like hit your head a little bit at first and have to learn from that. But then as you move on, it becomes easier and easier. So it's great to hear that that's kind of been the experience as well on this side of things for you. Being able to work with people that are not only great to work with, but they allow you to kind of open up the door to meet other great people at the same time. So that's awesome. Again, congrats on everything you're doing there. And I'm excited to kind of tap in with that side. Because I actually just saw this week that you were doing that because I saw it in your bio as well. So I'm going to have to check out the page and everything you've been working on over there.
Yeah, so we do artist spotlights on there as well. So I go and to somebody's show and interview them, and I do the same for business owners here in Nashville. So it's cool concept to check out. So. Absolutely.
And I definitely want to dive into your own work here because, like you said, it's a 24 song run. Now I feel like you got to be at least halfway through at this point because you put out a lot of songs.
We just released song 12.
Okay.
So. Not this upcoming Friday, but the Friday after song 13 will come out, and it'll be in that order until the end of the year.
So you're at the halfway point right now, and you just told me that you're getting kind of burnt out a little bit. You're getting a little bit like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. And I know you're doing visuals for all this work as well. So just talk about like where did this idea come from? What is kind of the genesis behind it, and are you gonna make it through to the end? Are you gonna see this through? I guess is the real question. So.
I'm hell bent on making it work. I'm hell bent. So this project, I've been working on it basically since I moved to Tennessee. Some of the songs, one of the songs was written in Houston, but the rest of them were all made here. And when I kind of, trauma dumping, warning, basically when I moved here, I was engaged and the engagement did not work out. And basically 2 months after I moved here, a close family member of mine died of a fentanyl overdose. And they were like my big sister and taught me everything I know about emo music and Warped Tour and all that kind of stuff. And so I was completely devastated due to some toxic family drama. I was not allowed to come home for the funeral. And that was also very painful. And I just kind of had to sit in my grief alone. And I had to sit in my grief with a person who made me feel even more alone at that time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so all of these songs were my coping mechanism. They were my survival to get out of that, because I had so much drive when I first moved here, and it just got taken from me. Like, it was really dark.
Yeah.
And so this project has helped me climb my way back to where I am now. So the first half of the project, for the most part, maybe the first 10 songs, are geared toward the end of my engagement. We touch on hypersexuality. We have different characters that play a role in the project. So you might have seen some stuff of me being a clown or some really fat guy. Yeah, those are just different characters that Trauma Queen interacts with. And the whole Trauma Queen idea came out of me working at Claire's. I don't know if you're familiar with Claire's.
Yeah, I've heard of it, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So my ex-fiance worked in a mall, and we had one car here in Tennessee, so it was just convenient for me to be working this really shitty retail job. And we're restocking for Halloween, and there was like a black tiara with a veil on it. And I had been fighting with my ex for weeks, and I was like, drama queen, yeah. Like, just like holding this crown in my hands. And then I went into the back of Claire's and just cried and wrote Trauma Queen on my phone. And so that's how that character kind of came. And there's jokes online as well of, I have borderline personality disorder, and a joke is it's beautiful princess disorder. So it kind of just fit in my head.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, be a princess for mental health. And so that's why each character, if I tried to make it that if I'm not wearing the crown, it's a different character. That's kind of how you can tell. But I have messed up on some because I've like forgot the crown at home or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where the project came from. And then this second half of the project is really touching more on like the loss of my family member and toxic families and generational trauma. And borderline as a whole, because like my borderline got really bad when I moved here. And abandonment and isolation are like two of the worst things to go through when you have BPD. So it was really tough to just sit here and pay all the bills and be in pain here in my little apartment. So that's like kind of the story behind the Trauma Queen project, and it's been really awesome and really fulfilling. So even if it doesn't make me like like a huge superstar, at least at the end of my life, I can say, you know what, I released 24 songs in a year. I did my damn best.
Yeah.
You know.
And not only that, I feel like it's almost like it was vital to do that in that instance, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's arguably it's the most healthy way to deal with those emotions in that way, is to be creative, to do what you know how to do best, which is create songs, make art surrounding it. I guess like a sidebar that I would have for you is I've heard artists that when they go through a certain type of project, or they make like a certain song, or even if it's just like an EP or something, and they're going through a very tough, maybe traumatic time of life, they almost feel like they just want to kind of put it out and then never revisit it ever again, because they know that it was kind of like hell to go through to get to the point of creating it. They don't really want to ever revisit it or go back to that time, because it reminds them of, you know, where they were at when they were creating it. So do you feel the same way about this music you're putting out now? Like, is it stuff that you are not going to be revisiting ever again, or how do you feel about that personally?
No, I'm actually like very proud of this music, more than I've been proud of anything I've ever done. And I also drive for Uber for a living here in Tennessee. And I listen to my music all the time because I have people going in my car and we're talking, and then they want to hear my music, you know? And I've even thought about, with my production process, I use samples to build all of my songs. And I've even thought about going in with my band and doing a couple live versions and releasing those. You know, just doing different versions because I love these songs so much. But yeah, I mean, if I'm just like alone, I might not be revisiting it.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. Yeah. For sure. Well, again, I think it's very commendable to be able to do something where you're putting in that much work as well during that time. So it's very good to see that you're able to channel that energy in such a constructive way as well. And it's been fun for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, to see the visualizers you've been putting out through YouTube, through like Instagram, putting the clips up. So how much fun has that been to do the visualizers for each song? Because like you said, they all have different themes to an extent, and you're playing like different versions of characters. So how has that been? Like, cause have you been working with videographers on those, or have you been kind of leading the way yourself on everything?
Those are all the content traits.
Nice.
So that was one thing, kind of going back to your first question, like, I would not be able to do this project if I did not live here in Nashville.
Yeah.
Because I have so much respect for my friends that are also so talented here, and I try to tag them in all the BTS and stuff to give them credit. But I would not be able to do that if it was not for the kindness of these other independent artists who know what the struggle is like.
Yeah.
So I have had to pay $0 for videography, and I've been able to make this entire project.
Yeah.
And it's just because of collaboration. So that is beautiful in itself.
Yeah.
And it's been so fun to bring my friends to do these things, because I don't make them pay for anything. I pay for the location, I pay for the outfits, I pay for everything. I might even take them to lunch afterwards for even helping me. And one of my dearest friends, her name is Sally Duan. She's an amazing artist. Go check her out. She went to a rage room with me, and we had to like throw plates and break stuff, you know, and then, you know, she also helped me shoot the clowns thing, which was the first shoot we ever did. And so having to bounce from that first location to going down to Broadway, and I'm in a clown outfit, and everyone's like, what is this girl doing? Like, this is crazy. Yep. And then I'm like asking people about their exes. Like, these other artists who have helped me have put up with so much. So it's been a blast to do the actual shooting. And then it's been very educational because I do all of the editing as well. So being able to have to prioritize my timing so I can get 14 videos done. Sometimes I might have to sit and do 8 videos in a day, you know, just to make sure that I can knock it out on that timeline. And yeah, like it's just crazy coordinating people and schedules and booking places. It's a blast.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it's a lot of legwork to put in, but I think the payoff is always there. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and it's great to have people kind of in your corner as well that are with you along that journey to be able to make it. Because I know that like when you put something out like that, people are only seeing like one side of it. You get to see all the sides of what goes into creating something like that, and the work that everybody puts in, and the work that you're putting in yourself. So it's really awesome to see that's happening. Like I said, I feel like every day I see something from you that you're putting up a new one, and it's because you got so many songs and so many visualizers to put with them. But it's really awesome to see, and I'm excited to see the rest of this run kind of play out here in the second half of the year. So I'm very excited for that. And is there anything else that you want to let people know about that you have coming out maybe in the next 6 months before the end of the year? Anything you're working on that you're excited about?
We're shooting a song on Saturday. I'm very excited about, called 28 Hours. And it's about what it feels like to have a BPD episode. And just the self-destruction that goes along with it. I'm very excited for that one. I have a song called UFBD that'll be coming out in the fall. It's called Unhealed Fathers, Broken Daughters. So it kind of makes sense right there what that's about. And then I have a song about abortion rights called Ultimate Prize. And then Gang of Ghosts. That's another one I have coming out in October time. Kind of about, I have like 4 or 5 dead friends that just kind of haunt me throughout my life. And so they've been influential in my music, and it's just weird things have happened. And so it's my Gang of Ghosts. So those are the songs that I'm really excited for coming up on the project. But please, stick around and listen, and it'll be great.
Yeah. I was going to say, if anybody listening hasn't seen, Lillian's work or her page, definitely check out what she has out now. But just be prepared for a lot of cool things coming up very soon. Because you keep us as the listeners entertained, I will say that. And it's great to see. You've been doing a lot of great stuff, especially this year as well. And do you have anything you want to leave us with before we get out of here? Any words of wisdom or anything else you want to let people know about?
I just kind of want to leave off with the meaning of a trauma queen. So the whole meaning behind trauma queen or trauma royalty in general is if you've gone through mental health struggles or addiction struggles, but you've chosen to heal yourself, or you're trying to heal yourself and loving others around you, you're trauma royalty. And if you are kind of going through a really rough time right now, please just give yourself grace and patience, and recognize that it takes a lot of strength to overcome a crap ton of trauma, especially if you have BPD. So you're strong, you're beautiful, you're loved, you're wanted here. So that's what I'll leave.
Awesome.
With.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people need that reminder from time to time. Yeah. So it definitely means a lot to, listeners out there, I'm sure. And like I said, definitely go check out Lillian's stuff. But Lillian, thank you again for coming back on the show. It's always great to reconnect. And I know we haven't done this in a minute, but thank you so much. And I'm excited to see the new music, hear the new music you got coming out, and thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for keeping up with me, man, and I love your podcast.
Yeah,
so
appreciate
keep up
it.
the great work.
Thanks, guys, for listening today. That was episode 264. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit that support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send us any funds, and feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.